arranging such discussions, and he's given an appropriate title to this, that of Think. Yes, we need to think. First of all, let me comment on the thesis which I'm supposed to presented by Agha Saab. Generally, there is no disagreement on that. He has talked at the strategic level, he's talked of the Quranic references, he's talked of Ummah and the overall ideology. And however, I would dare not disagree. I would present a different point of view, and you be the judge at the end whether it's a disagreement or I am reinforcing what he has said. First of all, I think we are a confused nation, and we should stop blaming others and I think make our own opinion. We have been brought up, particularly my generation, in a very romantic sense of Ummah, Pakistan being an ideological state, and therefore additional burden on us to carry this, I will allow me to use this word, the Sikh Ummah, which is actually, according to one of our prime ministers, Hussain Shahid Sohrawardy, when there was the Suez Canal conflict and all these Arabs got together, and he made one comment, 0 plus 0 plus 0 is equal to a big zero. Besides this historical comment, let me also say that we have greater pressing environment at our own hands which we need to solve rather than look outwards and carry a feeling of leading this. If we are not strong, then it is only a madness that we have been carrying. Okay, the second thing is that Agha Saab referred to this. Until 1906, there were empires. And that is the time when within an Ottoman Empire, the first state of Kuwait was carved out of Iraq. And then the series of breaking up of Ottoman Empire and then the British Empire and all other colonial powers started with First World War, ended in Second World War at the end, and it is still continuing. There are more states coming up. The most recent was the breakup of USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and then of course Yugoslavia and the balkanization of so many other states. This is a historical process, it will continue. So, Allama Iqbal has said, Chino Arab hamara, Hindustan hamara, Muslim hai hum watan hai sara jahan hamara. He wrote that in 1905. Before these empires started to break. But when these nation states came, before his death, he also said one thing, इन ताज़ा खुदाओं में बड़ा सबसे वतन है, जो पैरहन है इसका मजहब का कफन है. That means nation state or nationalism has to be something contrary to religion, particularly the belief of Muslims. The nation states will warrant a different kind of nationalism, and if you look at the Arabs, as described by some social scientists, first circle is of their own country, second is of the Arab nationalism, the third circle comes of the Ummah. Somehow with us, the first circle is Ummah, and the last circle is Pakistan. Therefore, we haven't developed this Pakistani nationalism, and therefore we are confused whether we are first Muslims or first Pakistanis. Having said that, now it is important to make these historical references so that we come to a point where we understand what is wrong with our political system today. Is there a way out, or we'll remain in this roundabout like situation without realizing, without knowing where are you going to exit and what is your direction. So the concept of Ummah, I will just make one small conclusion that after Second World War, when there were these numerous Muslim states, it is impossible to have a singular leader whom you can call the Khalifa or the leader of the Ummah. It is administratively impossible, and religion alone is not good enough to keep the Ummah united. If this was these Arab countries which have the same religion, same language, same culture should have remained one empire or under one ruler. When United Arab Emirates was forming in 1971, 7 states decided to make UAE, 2 states refused, Qatar, Bahrain. They said, "Hum kam khayenge, apna khayenge." So they remained independent. So what I'm saying is that religion over last century has seen a depleting kind of slide, a reduction in their force to keep nations together. Second, now I've heard this comment many times in last 20-30 years, that in Islam there is one way of selecting your rulers, and the Western democracy is un-Islamic. Okay, if you agree, how do you proceed? Western democracy, in the words of Winston Churchill, it is not the best form of government, but under the systems that are available today, this is the best system in which everybody has a voice and he can count for when selecting a leadership. A brief mention of Pakistan's history, because where we are today, it has its links, its roots in from where did we start. Now, Muslims have ruled India for about 800 years. Then was 200 years rule of the Britishers. Our population, when I say ours, I mean Muslims, has ranged from 6% to 14%, and we ruled being in that kind of minority. And there was a lot of force involved in it, except for some period when there was peace because of so many other reasons. When Pakistan was to be carved out, we needed a political slogan. I personally believe two-nation theory is against all rules of social sciences, because you may disagree, this is my personal opinion, and you will be absolutely right to hold your own opinion about it. I think, as a student of history, there are 4 types of Muslims in subcontinent. First are the Arabs who invaded, conquered the rulers, and the Shahjis, most of them settled in Sindh. Second category is of the Pathans, who used to come, loot India, go back. Their center of power remained Kabul, Ghazni, and Afghanistan. You have Shahabuddin Ghori, you have Mahmud Ghaznavi, and when you analyze their visits to India dispassionately, it was not for love of Islam. Third are the Mughals, who came again as invaders, no love for Islam. They just came and ruled India. Babur, the first ruler, 1527, when he makes his government in India, he expresses his hatred for the local Indians, Indian food, Indian fruits. He used to get these things from Kabul. And then, of course, there is a series of this. The effectiveness of Mughal rule actually finished in 1707. Between 1707 and 1857, when Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last ruler, finally gave up, I can challenge most of you will not be able to give a good account of these 150 years who ruled what part of India. Actually, as the historian says, and I believe that the Islamic rule finished actually in 1707 when Aurangzeb died, and he himself was responsible for it. Okay, the 4th category of Muslims to which I belong, my ancestors were non-Muslims, they were locals, sons of the soil, and we converted to Islam. I am the 17th generation. These 4 types do not see eye to eye with each other. They do not treat others equal to themselves. So, all had a different level of loyalty to the religion. And when the Britishers came, all Muslims came under their maltreatment. Two-nation theory was presented by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, addressed to the Britishers. not to maltreat the Muslims, because they are a different nation, they were from the ruling class. And therefore, this two-nation theory, it got picked up as a slogan for a separate identity of Muslims. Fine, it got carried, and it gave you this country we will live in, and we have all reasons to love this country. It is really a gift of God, maybe against the social sciences rules, that when a community changes its religion, does the nationality also need a change? If that was so, when the entire Arab land converted to Islam, their nationality did not change. They did not require to rename their country, redefine the boundaries, but it was done in case here. The second example given is of Israel, that Israel and Pakistan are two countries which have been carved out in the name of religion. But look at the difference between the two countries. When Israel was formed in 1948, Jews from all over the world were invited that come and settle down here, you have a claim to this land and this nationality. This wasn't the case in case of Pakistan. It was open only to the Muslims of India who were willing to migrate to Pakistan, and this also stopped in between, and the worst example came after 1971 when we refused to accept those Pakistanis who fought for Pakistan in East Pakistan. We call them Biharis. They are loyalists better than me and you to Pakistan, and they were refused entry in this country which was made in the name of religion, Islam or whatever you say. But this is where it stands. Now, one word referred by Agha Sahab was raison d'être, the reason to be. Pakistan, the reason to be. I have heard this debate since I was a child. Pakistan Islam ke liye bana hai ya Pakistan Muslimanon ke liye bana hai? There are too many opinions on this. History is very cruel. There are opinions. The most recent one has come from that Indian writer M.J. Akbar, who says that Pakistan was carved out by Muslims or a group of Muslims in continuation of the lost Mughal Empire, maybe to a reduced scale, and therefore they needed a country to rule so that that continuity could be re-established. Khan Abdul Wali Khan, he goes on the other extreme. He says Pakistan ki creation was a British conspiracy to break India, to fragment India into a smaller piece, and also create and left a hostility between the two countries so that they'll keep fighting with each other and never been able to strengthen each other to a limit where they become a challenge for anybody. He even goes to the extent of abusing Quaid-e-Azam, and he calls him a British agent. The Islamic parties were all against creation of Pakistan, and their reasons were also correct. Jamaat-e-Islami opposed creation of Pakistan because Maulana Maududi believed that this is not division of India, this is division of Muslims. The people who will still act in India will reduce to a greater minority and therefore will get much worse treatment, which history proved was correct. Jamaat-e-Ulama-e-Hind had a different opinion. They said that the British had taken a rule, the government from Muslims, it must be returned to Muslims. Quaid-e-Azam realized that was not possible, because when we ruled in minority, now this was the time of Western democracies establishing the rule on the basis of majority. So, until 1947, when these Islamic parties were opposing creation of Pakistan, soon after partition, they migrated and they started a claim that Sharia should be enforced and it should become an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. I, as a student of history, will give you my opinion that, in my opinion, Pakistan was created for Muslims of India to live an independent life, for their better economic well-being and self-governance. It was never meant. Otherwise, all these Islamic parties should have been there, and that should have been the slogan, that this will be a classic Islamic state where only Islamic rules will apply. And gentlemen, I also want to make a comment before I move on to the actual subject, that Islam does not give you a system of government. It gives you a set of values of honesty, of merit, of justice. You put these values in any system, that becomes Islamic. So, and that is our history. Otherwise, in 1500 years of our history, there should have been a model state. In today's 57 Muslim countries, there should have been a model which we could implement. Yes, at least an Arab country should have given us a model that here it is, and this is how an Islamic government functions, and a Muslim citizen exercises these benefits. Because of this confusion, our national objectives have not been established. So our reason to be has not moved forward in giving us our national objectives. On the political field, what do you want to become? On the social field, what is the state of a common citizen? What is the state of a minority or the downtrodden that the state owes to him? Similarly, on the economy, if I have to sum up the role of the religious parties, as I said, this is my personal opinion, they have fragmented this society. They have divided this society. They have created more problems than solving one. You take any issue, they've had their representations, they may not have ever come to power themselves, but Ziaul Haq was their manifestation. He implemented zakat and divided this nation. And before 1977, I think we were quite a secular state. There was no religious dispute amongst all. Mainly दो फिरके जानते थे, एक शिया एक सुन्नी. 74 में कहा गया कि कादियानी भी हैं and they are not Muslims, and that's it. But today, when we have moved forward, I find there are 6 in Sunnis and more in Shias, and that everybody has his own axe to grind. But how does that help this nation? Is it of benefit, or it is dividing this nation and causing a bleed to our national resources, law and order, or so many things? So now, with this little background, let's see what reforms do we want in our political system. One word that has always bothered me, and 3 years back we invited some speakers from India, from the Communist Party that rules Bengal, and he used this word very frequently, revolutionary. So at the end I asked him that this is a very big word. It is not for such a common use that, I mean, every 3 minutes, 4 minutes you are repeating this word. He says, yes, but in communism, they take revolutionary as anybody who challenges the status quo. So if that is the definition, I think we are all revolutionaries. And because we are not happy with what is happening around us, and we all want to change in the next or the next following election. So when we talk of political reforms, let's see who are the main players in this system. There are political parties, there are people who elect them, there is election commission who facilitates, organizes and concludes the process. And in case of Pakistan, there is the fourth element, that is the hidden hand. You call it agencies, you call it foreign power, you call it America or anybody else. At times, some of the elections have had an overshadowing kind of results of this hidden hand. I am a witness to at least 3 of these. 1990, 93. 93, I heard this term of engineered election, and I saw how these elections were engineered. And then 2002, the general who did this, Ehtisham Zamir, he is known to everybody, he was tasked to create 72 seats for MMA as a bargaining tool with the Americans. Whether that was the requirement of the country, the nation, or only the ruling elite, I leave it to you. So we'll talk about this. Okay, let's come to the first part, the political parties. Aga Sahab said there are only two types of people in this world. There are believers and there are non-believers. Both have some ideologies. So when you talk of political parties, under the Islamic system, there is no scope of having a political party, which I said earlier that the Islam and the Western democracies do not go hand in hand. So to begin with, we are starting with a wrong foot, but in the absence of a correct model of Islamic system, this is the best system. So they got to have an ideology. Now look at your main parties: People's Party, Muslim League, MQM, ANP. These are your four major parties. Next elections may see Imran Khan coming up with some kind of representation. These parties then, based on their ideology, have a manifesto in which they promise to people that we will do this if given power in next 5 years. People have to judge their leadership and the composition of the hierarchy or the structure of the party. I will mention briefly on these also later. Then are the people. Aga Sahab said that you restrict elections only to the urban units. But I think we have 70% living in villages and they should not be denied the right to choose their leadership. I am very confident and I believe that our common man is very, very aware, active at political level. He even holds an opinion on the American foreign policies. So he should not be given this denial to his voting rights. So I will say everybody should do that. But having said that, our people, as described by Mir Taqi Mir with permission of Sarwat Sahab, कितने सादा हैं कि बीमार हुए जिसके सबब उसी अवतार के लौंडे से दवा लेते हैं. So we go back to the same people again and again. That is one. Number two, out of 180 million people in this nation, the winning party gets nothing more than 8 million votes. So when they say कि हम अवामी नुमाइंदे हैं, do they represent this nation? And there are many reasons for that. That only 37-38% people cast their votes. 62% don't even bother to go through the polling station. But for next 5 years, these 62% people moan and groan and complain against these people. So should there be a change in the rules that voting be made compulsory? If not compulsory at this stage, at least it should be encouraged that more people should go. Second very important point is that out of these 5.5 crore votes that are registered, I am watching for last 1 year that more than 3 crore votes are bogus. They are not correctly registered. So even if more people were to vote, would you have a genuine representation of the people? This also suggests another thing here, that why not to have proportionate representation? That a man who gets 51,000 votes wins and the man who gets 50,000 votes loses. And these 50,000 people then suffer because we treat everybody else as our adversaries. Those who don't vote for you are your adversaries. So at the end of the day, on the elections, if the votes were counted, each party should be given. I want to make this suggestion. The third element is the Election Commission. I am hearing since I started to understand what Election Commission is, that we need an independent Election Commission. Only the opposition parties talk of it. The ruling party doesn't support this idea, whether it's Muslim League, People's Party or anybody. So while it is supposed to register the correct votes, scrutinize and in light of Article 62 of the Constitution, select the candidates or rejects the candidates and then holds the election, concludes. And a very big weakness that most of us do not realize. I mean, 2 days back I was seeing an MNA from Balochistan who complained 3.5 years ago that there was rigging in his constituency. It has taken 3.5 years of our judicial system to tell him that you are right and you are the now correct MNA. What happens to those 3.5 years? Is that man punished? This MNA named a brigadier, that so and so brigadier came here and he was from MI or SI and he rigged all this and made so and so successful. So Election Commission should have shaken up and got those people arrested. The people who got elected and enjoyed the perks for 3.5 years, shouldn't he be asked to refund all this and also see the jail for some period of time? What penalty for such people? I know of another example. I am quoting this because some of these examples I am personal witness to, that it has taken so long by our judicial system to admit that yes, there was wrong done to you in this sin, but wait for the next election. Now it is too late to unseat the sitting MNA since 1985 or whatever. So now basically a few words on the political parties. People's Party started in 67 with Roti Kapda Makan, Islam or religion, socialism or maishat, and democracy or way of life. Bhutto himself didn't believe in socialism. All the industry nationalized was on personal victimization, personal enmities, personal likes and dislikes. His party was not organized to handle nationalized units. Therefore, whatever was nationalized got destroyed in times to come. The subsequent rules of People's Party haven't practiced, but they hold the same slogans. They don't practice socialism or Masawat or for that matter anything of that type. Has anybody, whether it is Supreme Court, whether it is Election Commission, whether the people ever challenged that party to follow the manifesto? Pakistan Muslim League, I personally believe this has never been a political party. It has been the group of opportunists. It's a king's party. You see Convention Muslim League made by Ayub Khan. You see Junejo League made by Ziaul Haq. You see Q League made by Parvez Musharraf. Bhutto साहब ने जब टेक ओवर किया, there were 3 Muslim leagues. दौलताना साहब को एम्बेसडर भेज दिया UK, that Muslim League finished. Khan Abdul Qayyum Khan को he made him the Home Minister, that Muslim League finished. 3rd Muslim League dissolved on its own, the convention. So Muslim League doesn't have an ideology, doesn't have a manifesto. It's a group of people that accumulate and they claim that they are Muslim Leagues. Awami National Party, MQM, are secular parties. The central doctrine does not have religion in their manifesto. So they are progressive and their whatever manifesto, I don't think has ever been challenged by anybody. On the religious parties, in 2002, there were 38 religious parties registered with the Election Commission of Pakistan, each claiming to implement Sharia if elected to power. Who do I vote for? I want Sharia to be implemented, but who do I vote for? The biggest party today, claimed by Maulana Fazlur Rahman, is his. What does the WikiLeaks say about him is known to all of you. So I will not say any further on that. So now coming finally to the recommendations. First of all, I think use of religion in political parties should be banned. If you want to become the Prime Minister of this country, make a political party, not a religious party. There is the amendment I would like to see. Bangladesh has done that, and let us also do that. If you want Islam implemented, make a political party and implement Islam. If you want any other system, make a political party. People in this country, I believe, again I said this is my personal opinion, and I'll quote you example for this, are not interested in implementing Islam. Because all Islamic parties in their last elections, their votes have decreased progressively. Whatever level of Islam we have here, that suffices for them, and they don't want any further on this. It's a very big statement I'm making, and I will stand by it, and I'll prove it to you if somebody asks a question at the end. Democracy within political parties being shown. Opposed, unelected. Abhi Nawaz Sharif Sahab ne election karaya, not for his own seat, for all other posts, and he remains to be the champion. People's Party, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Nusrat Bhutto, Benazir Bhutto, Zardari Sahab, and now Mr. Bilawal is our next king, if you let me say that. Why? Do we deserve that kind of leadership? Do we deserve that kind of treatment as a nation? What is Noon League? If Mr. Nawaz Sharif is removed, where is Muslim League? Ziaul Haq ke bete ko ek seat nahi milti. He makes his Muslim League Z. There is Hum Khayal Group, there is Q League. I mean, so many Muslim leagues, all claiming to be loyal to Pakistan. And what? Awami National Party, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Wali Khan, Begum Naseem Ali Khan. She brings in the Houthis, her brothers, Asfand Yar Wali. Do the Pakhtuns deserve this kind of leadership? What democracy? When, I mean, somebody should challenge that there's no democracy within yourselves, why in the country? So, maybe the Election Commission or somebody, maybe the Supreme Court should demand that. Then, there are these criminal and militant elements in the parties. We are all Karachyites, we know it. Saying less is better because you understand what I mean. So, I am recommending that the seats in National and Provincial Assembly should be given on your proportionate representation. That if you have 2 million votes in the country, proportionately you should get your seats there. Of course, Senate, you have constant number of votes. The Election Commission has to be very, very strong and independent. पिछले 30 साल से मैं देख रहा हूँ, it says that expenditure below this, beyond this much will not be allowed on this. And we have examples of having 10 times, 15 times more expenditures during the election campaign. It goes unchecked. False declaration, whether of assets, properties, education, should be treated as a criminal act rather than just, I mean, Jamshed Dasti case is there. He gets disqualified by one court, he gets re-elected. Prime Minister has the audacity to give him a seat, ticket again, and he gets elected. And he comes back with more vengeance in him against the educated lot. So it is Election Commission who should ensure this. The other thing is the complaints on rigging. The Election Commission must be bound to give a decision within a period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. The jury can agree to that. Not 3.5 years or 4 years and then say that yes, you are right, there was rigging in your case and you are the correct MNA. So Election Commission should be bound to give a decision quickly, and those responsible should be punished for that. There should be some mechanism. Yes, I'm just winding up. Some mechanism to check a political party mid-course on its promises and its delivery. If it doesn't, there should be some kind of penalty. I will again leave it to the August audience and the people. I would now conclude by just saying that we are a nation of very average, ordinary, and I will say, if you don't mind, corrupt people. But when we want our leaders, we expect, I don't know what, from them. I'll just end by saying one of my own, from poem, just one verse. फरिश्तों को कहां से हुक्मरानी के लिए लाएं, ये मिल्लत हुक्मरान से पारसाई मांगती है. Thank you very much.